Hello, guys. Hi, I was going to say good evening. We're not quite there yet. Good afternoon. It is so nice to see all of you in the chat. Hello. If you are looking in the chat, please do say hi. Welcome to our closing live show for our Honesty and Lies read along. I actually can't believe that we're here, and I'm gonna confess something now while we're live, guys. All week I've been, dropping little hints, doing the daily Instagram stories. I devoured this the second it landed on my doorstep, and I've been fibbing to you all as we go along. I knew all the secrets all along. So, it's so nice to see all of you. Thank you for popping up. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our lovely author of our lovely shiny book. Look at the foil on that. It's beautiful. That's there you go. There's ADHD, very distractible with the foil. Our lovely author, Eloise Williams, who is a middle grade novelist, whose books have won so many awards that as I started to write them down, I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to say many. I'm going to say many because there's a lot of them, and some of them are Welsh and I couldn't pronounce them. So there were many of them. Eloise is was also the Welsh Children's Laureate from 2019 to 2021. So that's just a little cool, humble brag there. And Honesty and Lies is your 7th book, right? Did I count right?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, that was putting you on the spot. I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that one. I promise.
Fine.
Yes, the foil is beautiful.
Yeah, I'll just shine it here as well. It goes with my cardigan.
Yeah, tandem shining. It's so pretty. I should have actually got them. I should have got them here. There's the professional booktuber. But for the people who have won our lovely giveaway, because we have three winners of a beautiful copy of this, there are matching bookmarks, which are half Honesty and half Alice. And I'm very salty that I don't have any of them for myself. It's very upsetting. I like that. At what point do you lose count of the amount of books that you have written?
I'm just rubbish at numbers. That's all it is.
No. It's so nice to see you in the chat. Thank you. There's someone the way to you. There we go. That was me quietly begging for pretty bookmarks. That was what that was. Okay, so to kick us off then, Eloise, would you like to answer that question that all authors hate when you say, can you tell me a little bit about your book?
I do hate that question because my mind goes blank immediately. So I'll look at the cover because that helps me. Yes, it's set in Elizabethan London. It's very wintry, and it's about two girls called Honesty and Alice, who somebody said they're frenemies at the court of Queen Elizabeth I, which I think is a brilliant description. Yeah. And Honesty runs away from Wales, a place called Dimbych y Pysgod.
Thank you. I think that is actually one of our questions for later on, so I'm going to get you to do that again. But I googled this and I tried it, and nope. It was not happening for me. So say it again.
Dimbych y Pysgod.
A Pysgod. Okay.
That was really good.
Thanks. I think it's the Scottish thing, right? I can fake it because everything is a rolled R. So
yeah. True. As long as you haven't got any words with sh in them. Not quite so easy. And Honesty runs away from Wales, Dimbych y Pysgod, to London because she's escaping her nasty father, and she meets up with Alice, who is working at the court at Greenwich Palace, which is no longer there. And she decides that she's going to go and get a job in the palace as well. And then it leads to a story of secrets and lies and espionage and lots of snow.
And so many layers. And I think it's funny because people often ask me, I read a fair amount of middle grade on my channel, and people are often like, do you get as much out of it as an adult as you do as a kid? And I swear, every third chapter I was like, she said, what?
That's the best compliment ever. Thank you so much. That's
definitely
so
true. Oh, there we go. Yep, that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Yes. Oh, so much of the Welsh language is lovely, and I'm terrified to attempt any of it.
Oh, I'll give you a little lesson, don't worry.
Oh, I like that. That's a good offer. I like that. It sounded a little bit different in my head. I think it's like when when you get to like a fantasy word in a fantasy book, and your brain kind of just sees the first letter and the last letter, and you're just like, that is tillalabilla. And somebody says it out loud to you, and you're like, sorry, who? Even if you've been reading about them for 400 pages.
Yeah. Oh, Welsh is easy once you get your head around it.
Oh, I like this as well. Good authors can write novels for children that adults can love. It's very, very true. So I'm going to put you on the spot now. We've got some fun icebreaker questions, and I like to do this with everybody. So you're not the only one who's ever been put on the spot on this channel, but I promise that I kept it general. So we've got a couple of icebreakers that I think will appeal to everybody, including some familiar faces that I see in the chat. So first up is, if you had a superpower, what would your superpower be?
Ooh. Can I turn into an animal, or any animal that I want to turn into?
Anything you like.
And
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
I
I watch my dog, Watson Jones, and I just think he has the best life. He just lies around all the time and eats anything he feels like. I'd also like to have a go at being a sloth.
Ooh. Oh, I don't. The only thing that doesn't appeal to me about being a sloth is that everything seems to take quite a long time, and I like food. So I feel like that might be a hindrance, but I definitely like the being able to eat anything that you want to eat. Where did your dog's name come from? I have to know this.
He was going to be called Sherlock, but we picked him up and he didn't look very intelligent. He's listening. Sorry, Watson.
Oh,
no. And he's just Jones because he's Welsh. So he's Watson Jones.
Oh,
and everybody knows him as Watson Jones as well. He doesn't get shortened. Thank you so much.
I feel so sorry for him. Like, cover your ears, son. Cover your ears.
Yes, his little paws over his ears.
You're a smart boy, really. Okay, so next up, we've got, I like this one. We've got, what is a weird fact that you know?
Ooh.
That puts you right on the spot.
General weird fact.
Any weird fact.
Any weird fact. Well, the one that I always use when I'm working with children is one that I found out when I was writing my second book, I think it was, Gaslight, which is set in Victorian times.
Yeah.
And I found out that they used to use arsenic to dye clothes green because it was a really fashionable colour. People probably know this, but I didn't know it. It was a really fashionable colour called Paris green. So they used arsenic. So the people who were dyeing the clothes were actually dyeing themselves from the toxic fumes.
Literally dying. That was a good author pun. If you haven't used that in a book, you need to use that. I nodded because the only reason I know this is because there is one particular historical site in Edinburgh where they have preserved some of the wallpaper, which also has arsenic in it. And I take everybody there because it's a touristy place. Everybody loves a bit of Edinburgh tourism. And every single time, one of the guides will be like, "Don't lick the wallpaper." And so it's stuck in my head.
Did you go to lick the wallpaper, Leanne? Is that why the guide said it? Yeah.
I mean, I'm wearing green. It's my favorite color.
Yeah, me too, actually. Me too.
And so I have a last icebreaker question, and this one might be interesting because this one might be obvious given that this is not set in present day. But which period in history would you live in?
Oh, definitely not the Elizabethan.
No, absolutely not. The facts that you put in here about the Thames and the smell of the Thames was enough for me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely not then. I think I'd probably go Victorian again. I like kind of Gothic stuff. So I'd like to live in Victorian times, have a big Gothic mansion with a library, with one of those ladders that you push across, that kind of thing. I'd quite like to be into botany and travel the world. Yeah, Victorian.
I love that. So we're kind of going for like an Agatha Christie vibe with poisons and botany, but if we were in Victorian times, I like that.
That sounds perfect.
Mama loves you despite your lack of intelligence, Watson.
Is that for me, or is that?
That's for Watson Jones. I think Mama loves you despite your lack of intelligence.
Thank you. He's very lovely, very sweet.
Yeah, there was a lot of good nodding.
Very sweet, Watson.
Oh no, so bad. We're so mean to them. Okay, so we did have a couple of different giveaways for beautiful copies of the book, which I'm trying not to hoard like a dragon because they're stunning and I don't want to give them away. But one of them was an emoji giveaway. So I asked people to submit their emoji that they thought of when they thought of your book, and I collated all of the most popular ones. So are you ready?
I am so ready.
These are the emojis that people thought of the most.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I love the fact that there are so many friends holding hands. I put that in multiple times because there were so many of them. And I think that that's one of the things that I took away. I love the fact that somebody used the term frenemies, because that's definitely what these girls are for the majority of the book. But that first emoji is mostly my face. When they got into like yet another argument, I was like, oh no, you were almost friends and it was almost
I know it all keeps falling apart for them, doesn't it? I think they're both very nice in their own ways. They're just having a troubled life.
Yeah, and also, fate brings you in contact with people, and that I think that definitely is what happened with them. They bumped into each other. That does not mean they're necessarily the best person for each other at that particular time.
That's very true.
I also love this second one because I wonder whether this is like a royal wave.
And I didn't even think of that.
And I definitely feel like your queen was a great queen. I didn't expect to like her as much as I did as well, but she's a sasspot.
Do you think?
Yeah, we love her. I've been reading bits of this to my lovely other half, who hasn't really had much choice in the matter, but has enjoyed the experience. And we're both fans. We're definitely both fans.
Great, because she doesn't really feature hugely in it. She features on purpose.
Yeah, she definitely features enough to make an impression. But that's actually one of my questions for you. One of my questions before I let everybody else ask their questions. Is one of the things that really came across to me in this is your love of writing a side character, because there are so many little side characters in this, and I think it's really a mark of an author's talent when you can have so many side characters, and yet I know exactly who they are as soon as they walk on the page. I'm not confused about names. I'm not confused about anything. They have their own little micro personalities, and I really, really loved that. But so my question, first of all, is where do you get your inspiration for all of your little side characters? And secondly, do you ever wish that you could tell their stories as well?
So much. I get my inspiration. I just think people are endlessly interesting, and I think you can really describe somebody really well in one line if you choose exactly the right characteristic. And so I'm just thinking of one character who's in it, who's called Bridget, who honesty compares to a horse, which is not very nice, but I just think
but it was very effective.
I'm glad I got away with that, actually, because it's not very nice. But yeah, I really like that character, and so I just love giving everybody a little spotlight, and I'd love to write their stories. I think it'd be fascinating to write a whole series of books on all those different people in the court. Just an idea now. Maybe I'll do that.
We love to hate Bridget.
Yeah, she's not very nice. There's not many redeeming features.
I kind of like that though, because that makes me intrigued. That makes me wonder, like, how did you get that way? How did you get to the point where you're irredeemable in my eyes?
Exactly. I should write her backstory for you.
Look,
there's that emoji again.
Well, actually, that's interesting, because the person who won our emoji giveaway, Samantha, has. I love this emoji. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I know. Honestly, I was like, that's perfect. Because I imagine that really drives for me with Alice's face throughout this entire thing. Every time Honesty opens her mouth, it's just like,
Yeah,
I loved it so much. But yeah, so Samantha has won a copy of our book with this. Oh, you'd think I'd be better at this by now, but I'm not. With this emoji. And I really, that is definitely a few different people's faces in this book. Did you have a favourite character? Is that like saying a favourite child? Or you're not technically not allowed to tell me?
I don't know. It's really difficult because one of the characters is quite like me, and the other one is quite like my sister. So it's kind of choosing between my sister. I mean, they've got different characteristics from lots of people. I'm going to go with Bridget, Horseface. She's my favourite character.
I love that. That was very safe.
Say it again.
That was a very safe answer. I like that. Yeah, let's not get you in trouble with family. Like, really, let's not do that. Okay, so I'm going to jump into some of our questions. And again, guys, if any of you have questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. But I have a bunch here that have been submitted from all sorts of different places. So first up, we're going to start with Kendall. So what made you decide to write middle grade? And do you see yourself writing for different age groups in the future or sticking to this one?
That's a good question. I didn't really decide to write for middle grade. I think I decided on the story that I was going to tell, and that just happened to come out in that voice. I think my interior monologue is quite childish. Generally, I can still see things like a child about that age. I'm quite easy. Yeah, and I probably write for other age groups. I think in the future, there are certain things that I'd like to write about that I think maybe would make better adult books. Yeah. And who knows what the future holds.
I think there are many people who, like me, would be more than happy to continue reading anything that you write. So please do. Because you've definitely got a loyal audience, I think, from the amount of comments and questions that I got for this. So people are definitely here for you. Also, I like the way that you're like, my internal monologue is quite childish. I think that actually what that says is like the sense of wonder that I got from this book really comes across on the page. I felt a lot of the time like I was exactly like Honesty, where you would describe a room in the palace, and I was like, if I was going to submit an emoji, it would be like the heart eyes emoji, where it's like, oh, new thing and another new thing. There are so many details in here that I'm a bit of a history geek as well, but I had no idea about some of the facts that you researched in here. How much research did you do?
Oh, that was so much fun. I got completely lost in research for so long. It was terrible. I started off thinking I'd do a month of research or 2 months of research, and I just ended up doing loads of stuff, going to visit different places, the Tudor Merchant's House in Dinbych Pysgod, Tenby, Hampton Court. I stole lots of stuff from Hampton Court for my reimagining of Greenwich Palace. And that's probably where that sense of wonder comes from, because I walked around there just like, everything. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like the best kind of research trip, though.
So much fun. Yeah. But I've learned that I need to start writing, and then when I'm a few chapters in, I know what I need to research instead of thinking I need to know everything about the Elizabethans to write the book.
Although I do have to say, sometimes I think you can tell when an author has like, damn it, I have done the research. All of the things will be in the book. And I didn't ever feel like that. I felt like there was just a lovely mix. No, there was a lovely, lovely mix of getting to know the characters and really seeing all of these, because it was so effective having Honesty come from somewhere that was not the big city, and then to describe everything through her eyes. It was so effective, and I didn't once feel like I was getting swept up in details. I wanted more. And I remember I've got a little, I don't dog your pages, I must admit, but I was very enthusiastic with the book at this point, but I got to page 188 and I'm like, why is there only this left? That's not fair. And yeah, I
Oh,
can
I'm
tell that it was
sorry.
page 188 because I was a little bit I was a little bit enthusiastic when I got there. So
That's probably down to my editor. She's very good at telling me when I'm waffling, which happens a lot.
I need one of those for real life. So our next question is from Hannah, and that is, have you thought about a movie? Who do you think would play the Queen? See, I told you the Queen is definitely a big feature.
I haven't given it any thought at all, but now you've said it, I can't remember what her name is, which is really useful for this, isn't it?
That person who I play that with my other half all the time. Yeah.
She's in the Narnia film as the White Witch. And she's also in, oh no, this is terrible for you to be watching. She's also in
oh wait, yes. Tilda Swinton.
That's it, Tilda Swinton.
Hey, we got it.
Well done. Thank goodness for Google. Yeah, because my brain doesn't work at all. Yeah, I just think she would be superb.
I love that. And don't worry, because we play that person who in this house all of the time.
Oh dear.
There you go. There you go. Everybody's screaming at us in the chat. Tilda Swinton.
I said the one with the hair, and they're like, yeah, Tilda Swinton.
Yeah, see, read it in one morning and wanted more. It's criminal that this is not a series. I want to know what they do next. Very upset.
I already know what they do next. It's in my head. Which doesn't always happen to me, actually. Sometimes I get to the end of writing a book and I go, thank goodness for that.
I never want to see you again. Please leave.
Yeah, but these are still going in my head.
Oh, I love that. Oh, we've got a question in the chat from Amy. What does your writing process look like? Do you plan or just let things come to you when you write?
When I started writing, I used to start from page, like the very first line, and I just write to the end and see what happened. But that leads to a huge amount of editing. Because as I said, I waffle a lot. So I just like waffle all over the place and go off on different tangents, and the story wouldn't really work. So now I plan things just because it's more efficient, really.
I love how disgusted you look when you say, now I plan things.
I know, yeah. I don't like doing it. I don't like plotting. Plotting is my worst thing ever. But then it does mean that I can concentrate on the characters and the setting and the language and the sentence structure and all these, little nitty bits, because I know where I'm going. And it means I finish a book as well, because sometimes I'll just write and write a book forever.
That's helpful. Finishing the book. Finishing the book, I think, is what makes Watson Jones get his dinner on the table. So we definitely need to do that. Yeah. But I like the bits of it. Why is plotting your worst thing, just out of curiosity?
I don't know. Landscape usually comes to me first, and I find that really easy, and character comes to me usually second, and the only way I can come up with a plot is to put my characters in that landscape. Yeah, I don't know, because plotting should be really easy.
I don't know. No, I don't think plotting is easy though, because I think I've seen a lot of author interviews where authors have said that when it comes to plotting, it's almost like telling yourself the story, and then you've told yourself it, so then why write it?
That's it. That's exactly it. So then you drag yourself through writing it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. For me, I suppose creativity is in discovering what happens to that character. Yeah. So yeah, it makes it harder after.
Like, what do you mean I have to do work? I don't like that.
I like being lazy. I've done my thing.
I love that. Okay, so our next question comes from another one of our book winners. So another one of these beautiful copies will be winging its way to you, Stephanie. And I love this question because it's not about writing at all. It's about something on your bio, and I'm very nosy about it too. So what's the best beach you've been to for sea glass collecting?
Oh, the best one. I'm really lucky because I live close to the sea in Pembrokeshire. And it's not so good now because people have caught on to sea glass collecting. So there are a lot of people out there who don't look at the sea at all. They're all just bent over picking up pieces of sea glass.
I love that.
but the beach by me used to be really good because it was where I live is called Coppit Hall, which is actually from Coal Pit Hall. So used to all the miners used to work here. So a lot of stuff used to go in the sea. So it's pretty good here. But don't come here because that's all my stuff.
It's all mine. You can't have it. So where did your sea glass obsession come from? Is it just, are you like me? Is your house surrounded in crystals and shells and pretty things?
No, it's more that I moved to Southwest Wales from, like, I lived in Cardiff and London and Stoke-on-Trent for a random amount of time, and the South Wales valleys as well. And then I moved down to Southwest Wales, and I didn't even know what sea glass was. This is about 10 years ago. And I was like, what is this stuff all over the beach? This is so pretty. And it becomes an obsession really, really quickly. You'll find bits of china that have still got the names of the manufacturers on them. And it's just the most amazing things. Yeah. Little marbles and
I do have, it's hiding in the background. I do have a little shell collection and a couple of little bits of sea glass and stuff kicking about as well. So we share this obsession. So it might have come from it's so pretty.
I got a bit over obsessed with it though. So my garden was covered in it and every jar was filled with it. So I've stopped for a bit.
No such thing as over obsessed. So here's another one that we've got. And this one is specifically, how much research did you do about London? So not about the palace, but about London at the time.
Quite a lot. I used to be an actor. So when I studied to be an actor, I did a lot of Shakespearean theatre, and I would tell you other authors, playwrights, sorry. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Oh, Marlowe, is that one? Webster, there we are, they're all coming back now. So, try and act intelligent, can't get away with it. I knew a lot about theatre history, so that's where I started really, like the history of the globe. And Shakespearean stuff is where I started. So I kind of started with the stuff I knew and worked out from there. And it's just fascinating. I don't know how long it took me altogether and how much I did. I don't know how to quantify that, but a lot, and probably way too much.
See, but you can use that in the future. There is no way too much. It's fine. It's all stored somewhere. Well, theoretically stored somewhere. It's all stored somewhere.
Although having been an actor, I used to learn my lines and then completely, like, I'd finish whatever play I was in and completely forget all of the lines the day that the play closed. So I've got a really good thing of switching off.
That. So it's when I was doing the read along, one of the things that popped up, of course, was what Shakespeare plays were being produced about the time. So what do you think of Twelfth Night? Where does that rank in your Shakespeare plays?
Ew, not very high, actually.
I love that.
I think I saw a production of it at the Globe like 20 years ago, which was brilliant, with that amazing actor whose name I can't think of, the one with the hair, Mark Rylance. And that was fantastic, but just generally not, I don't know, I don't like the comedies so much. I like the darker stories, I think.
Yeah. I think that's the Welsh and the Scottish coming out in us. It's all tragedy and doom and gloom and foreboding skies and witches. And,
right?
Yes, that's where all the fun is. I also love the realism of the fact that whenever you're asked anything, it's like everything else falls out of your brain, because whenever this is what happens with booktubers all the time, is like, what is your favorite book? What is your favorite genre? What is your least favorite book? What book would you recommend me in this genre? And as soon as anybody asks me any of those questions, I'm like, I have never read a book before. I don't know what books are. I don't know why you would ask me that.
Yeah, I feel your pain.
That is not. I'm glad / not glad that it's not just me. Oh yeah, so there we go. So Faye said, how do you pronounce Honesty's town name? So give it to us again.
Okay, so it's got two different names. The English name is Tenby, which is easy enough. And the Welsh name, I think it means, if you translate it directly into English, is Fort of Little Fishes. It's Dinbych.
Dinbych.
Pysgod. Dimbych
Dimbych.
a pysgod.
Pasgob. Pasgob?
Pysgod.
Pasgod. Okay.
That was
We're
pretty
giving
good.
me, I don't know, we're giving me a C+. That's what we're giving me. We're giving me a C+.
Hey, that is pretty good.
Yeah, look, I will take that. I'll take that. Rosie TG would like to know, would you ever consider writing a series? And we did briefly cover that, where we were talking about there's definitely other people in here. And also, I want to know what they do afterwards. But would you ever write a series with the intention of that, like, this is the first book in a series? Do you?
I don't know. I've never done it before. And like I said, there are quite a lot of books where I've just wanted to finish them and been glad to finish them and felt really happy and got on with my life when they're finished. I love them. They're definitely one-offs. But I think, yeah, maybe. Why not? I don't know. I haven't planned any as yet, but I do have a couple of ideas. I've got a very, very dark idea for one, kind of ghostly, seasidey sort of thing.
You said all my favourite things. I'm in.
Right.
I'm in.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know.
Do you have a favourite book that you've written? I mean, I guess if this one, right? But like, do you have a favourite book that you have written?
I like them all some days, and other days I think, oh, I wish I'd changed this bit. I wish I'd written that different character in. I wish I'd expanded this bit. So it changes regularly, but I've never had a book stuck in my head like this one, which I think is a good sign. Yeah, because I think I just worked really hard on the characters, so I fell in love with the characters in this one. That was nice.
I love that. It makes me emotional because I fell in love with them too.
Oh.
Right, more please, Eloise. So our next question we've got is, Ryan says, my daughter would like to know what your favourite book was when you were 10.
Oh, well, hello to your daughter. And my favourite book definitely was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I don't know if she would know that story, but the reason that I liked it so much is that it was about a family who were sent off to a mansion. They were evacuated from London and sent off to the countryside to stay in a mansion, and it was raining outside, so I immediately thought it was Wales. And the youngest girl goes and hides in a wardrobe, and she finds, like, she's walking back through all these coats, and she turns around, she's in a magical world, and it's snowing, and it just blew my mind completely. I couldn't believe she'd found this magical parallel world called Narnia. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite story when I was 10, and probably almost definitely still my favorite story now, though I've not read it in a long time.
That made me emotional. Oh, I love that though, because you, again, I feel like you're passionate about the things that you love, and it comes through in your writing, and it definitely comes through when you talk to you as well. You can tell your eyes light up. It's really sweet. So I love that. And I have to say as well, if Ryan's daughter does not know Narnia, then Ryan needs to correct this. Everybody should know Narnia. Oh, here's an interesting one. What do you do when you have writer's block?
So the only way, I didn't believe in writer's block for a long time, and I still refuse to call it that because it gives it power. The only way that I manage it is to, if I get stuck, I get up and I go for a walk usually, and that could just be around my house, or it could be outside, or I just even if it's like for 2 minutes or 10 minutes, that usually will clear my head. I have had kind of a couple of days where I've not managed to write anything, and I've been really trying. I think the worst thing you can do is sit in front of your computer or with your piece of paper trying to write. It's never going to work.
Yeah.
I'm just kind to myself, really. If I can't write anything, I don't. I go off and watch Netflix or go for a walk, or, just take my mind off it, try and fill my mind with creative things, or eat nice food. I like food. Have a break.
We're the same person, except you write books and I read them.
It's a combination then.
So what you're telling me is that you go for a silly little walk for your silly little mental health, and then you do self-care things And that makes you creative and happy. Could we all learn a lesson from this?
Did I say that? It sounds really intelligent when you said it. That's exactly what I said.
Exactly what you said.
Brilliant.
I love that. Everybody take notes. What is the best thing you ever got for Christmas? It is a very Christmassy book. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. I'm not surprised.
Not
That was more that was rude. Rude. I'm not
I'm going to shut my laptop down. How dare you?
No. Yeah, I'm not surprised that it made everybody think about Christmas, because that's definitely how I've been describing this to everybody, is that this is a perfect little slice of winter with just that little happy Christmas bit. And there were some things in here about Christmas that I did not know about, and you managed to cram Christmas facts in here as well. And I also loved the use of wassailing.
Thank you.
I love that. But now I've bought you some time now. So what is the best thing you've ever got for Christmas?
It was probably, this is kind of a twofold thing. I wanted a Barbie house, a pink plastic Barbie house, and my parents couldn't afford that. And I didn't know this when I was a kid. So they got me, my dad made me like a kind of Victorian mansion with, oh my God, it was so cool, with tiny little electric switch on lights, like little switch on flick light things, and like carpets and little tiled floors. And he made it all himself and then painted it all. And yeah, it was fabulous.
It's the sweetest thing ever. It's like, why do we not keep all of these things from our childhood?
I love that now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, now I would like to play with all of the things I got rid of. Excuse. Yeah. Oh, I like this. I also like food. What's your favorite takeaway meal?
Oh, I'm vegan, so probably fried tofu in chili and salted as well, salted bean curd. I'm wokarati tofu eating, or whatever it was, for sure.
So now that we're hungry, I like this one as well. Please tell us your favorite middle grade and adult book.
Oh God, that's so hard. I've got so many.
I know. Again, like I said, anybody asks me that, and I'm just like, everything I have ever read has gone. I don't read books.
See my face go blank. Well, a book that I've read recently, or the one that I'm reading at the moment, then let's go middle grade, which is really beautiful and gorgeous language and kind of dark and snowy and like all the things that I love. It's called The Shadow Order, and it's by Rebecca F. John. I'm really loving that, so I'll go for that with middle grade, if that's okay. I also love October by Katja Balin as well. I can just
I'm making notes. I'm making notes for things.
I just start off now, quick as I can. And
I'm not crying ban, Eloise. This is disgusting behaviour. But
you can't do that yourself. You cannot do that. An adult book, I think, is Stephen King's Salem's Lot.
Oh, I love
a random choice. I haven't read that for a long time either, but I think it's the same thing as The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and that kind of, it took me out of myself to somewhere totally different. So I was lying on the beach in Turkey in my bathers when I was about 24, and I was terrified by this book, and I think that's a mark of a good book.
I love that. I love that you were so, I think when we do read a lot of creepy books on this channel, and I'm sure that anybody that's hanging out in the comment section will know we read a lot of creepy books here. And I've often said that like the mark of a really good creepy book for me is if in the middle of the night I have to like nudge my other half and be like, can you come pee with me, please? Like that's the mark of a creepy book for me. If I'm like, right, I can no longer be trusted on my own. My imagination is far too overactive for that.
Well, I tell you what did that for me was the Shirley Jackson Haunting of Hill House, is it called?
Oh yeah. The show or the book, or both?
The show. I'm too scared to read the book. I read The Woman in Black and that ruined me for years, so I'm way too scared to go down that road again.
Oh no.
Houses. So
The Haunting of Hill House is like The Conjuring. It's a comfort watch for me. I put it on in the background to be everybody makes that face. But we went to see The Woman in Black at the theatre, and it was a 2-tiered theatre. We were upstairs, and it was a very sparse production, which made it so much worse. And when intermission came, I'd never read the play or anything before, so I had no idea that we might be getting to the halfway point. They put all the lights down, as they had multiple times during it. And then the usher whipped the curtains open behind us all. And I have never seen so many grown adults fly into the air at the same time. And he was very cheerily like, intermission. I'm surprised he left there alive. So I can't do The Woman in Black either.
No, it's a great book though, but it works brilliantly in the theatre. I don't know why it is so scary. Maybe because it is so simple, the story. Yeah. I'm not going to sleep tonight now. Thanks for this chat.
You're so welcome. We're hungry, but we won't go to the kitchen because we've creeped ourselves out.
Exactly.
Bethan says, I come from Chepstow. What's your favourite place in Wales? Oh, that's
hi, Bethan. God, I can't choose.
That's so mean.
I love the place I grew up in. It's not my favourite place. I'm stalling for time here. I think where I live now is pretty beautiful, actually. Pembrokeshire is lovely. I know I've chosen a county rather than a specific place.
That's reasonable. This was quite a mean question, I feel like. So that's
I love Cardiff as well, because I spent a lot of time in Cardiff when I was young. So that's my favourite city, I think.
Yeah, there we go. This is like gently favourite area.
Yeah, that's nice.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go Pembrokeshire.
We're being laughed at for being creeped out. And Shadow Order is one of my hot books of the year. So, okay, all right, I'm gonna buy it, guys. You can stop. It's fine.
It's really good. It really is.
Do you have a favorite mythical creature?
Can I go the Loch Ness Monster?
Yeah, you can. And you definitely can on this channel.
No, I went to Loch Ness when I was young, and I think I've just always thought that was just such a fascinating place and a fascinating story. So I'm going to go with that, I think. Even though there's loads, I love them all.
There are quite a few. You've got quite a few little mentions in here of mythical creatures as well. We have Honesty Waking Up to a Dream of Dragons, which I really liked as well. So yeah, I do. Yes, I do. I like the amount of whimsy that is in this book that comes from little side mentions of things like that. Also, talking about whimsy, I loved the very first scene where they're running through London, and Honesty sees somebody passes her with a turnip truck, and then there's somebody with a puppet running along, and there's so many tiny details. I could gush about this book all day. I really could. So many tiny details that I was just like, oh, that was so smart. That was so smart. Unacceptable.
Oh, thank you.
Do
witches count as mythical creatures?
Yes.
Then
they do on this channel. Yes.
The Loch Ness Monster, witches, and any Welsh mythology, particularly ones in the Mab or the Mabinogion or the Mabinogi.
Just keep saying things in Welsh and we'll all just sit and listen to you.
It's just a plug for one of my other books.
No, plug away. That's why we're here. Satori wants to know, do you like first person better when you write? That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm trying to write something at the moment, which means I'm walking a lot and eating a lot. I like the process. I started with third person, and I find it very difficult. I like to get inside somebody's head. So I think that first person works really well for me, because I think it's really interesting to examine the difference between what people are saying and what they're actually thinking. So I think first person for me.
That definitely plays into one of the other questions that I want jealously just for you to answer for me. But I loved the format that you came up with, where Honesty is telling stories and that takes Alice away from her life, but they also cover up Honesty's past and how she feels about it. And it means that we don't really hear about Alice's past either and how she feels about it. And was that a very purposeful choice, the story structure of that, or did that just come to you with Honesty?
Well, I started writing this book about 10 times. This is the only way I could make it work. So really, I started it in lots of different voices and lots of different ways, and I couldn't get across what I was trying to do. So I thought, right, what are my strengths here? Landscape is a strength, character is a strength, plot isn't. So what if I try and write it with 2 different people? And I'm really interested in the power of storytelling as well. I think like to transcend problems, and obviously I think the reading can take you out of your life and away from your problems and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So it came from that, I think. And I just wanted to challenge myself as well, because I'd written, I think, what did you say? I'm on 7 books, is it?
Yeah, that was my count. I might have missed one, but that was my count.
And also, I think I like playing with that appearance reality thing. And that works well with 2 different voices, because you can say one thing that you think is happening, that one character thinks is happening, and then show what really is happening. And I'm just waffling now. This is what I do with my writing.
You're not waffling at all. I loved it. I honestly, it was so clever. And I spent the entire time, it was almost an unreliable narrator, but Honesty's honest about being an unreliable narrator. So there were so many layers to it. And I was just like, oh, it made me very happy. Ooh. Can you tell us where next for the 2 protagonists of Honesty and Lies? Can you tell us?
I can't. I won't.
I shall not. I refuse.
I presume, like, most people will have read it to the end if they're here. So they leave London in kind of a cart filled with stage props and stuff like that, and costumes hidden in the back of that cart. And I have various different things that happened next, so I can't really tell you.
Choices.
Yeah, I think I'm tempted. I would be tempted to bring them back to Wales to see what would happen there, because I think Alice's home is London and Honesty's home is Wales, so it might be interesting to play with it the other way around, if you know what I mean.
I love that. Well, I think that was definitely a fair tidbit. That was more than generous, I think. So I'm just going to take that and ruminate on it until you finally write it, and then I'm going to petition to read it first. Okay. So you've covered some of the things that's most difficult. What's the most difficult part about writing? So we've covered
definitely. Yeah, definitely getting to the end of a story. And plotting does help with that, I suppose, because you can miss bits out. So if you think a bit is boring as you're writing it, you can just jump to another bit because you know more or less what you have to fill in.
I love
that. But I think because I have loads and loads of ideas all the time and they just won't leave me alone, I've learned I have to write those down on a little scrap of paper and put them in a drawer and safely leave those until I've finished the thing I'm working on.
Yes.
And that mostly works, but sometimes it doesn't. So I can end up working on 3 or 4 things at the same time. For me, that's
getting to the end of a story sounds painful for me. Do you end up with various different possible endings as well? So not just like the making yourself get to the end, but do you have like different places where you could go with one?
Yeah, not so much since I started plotting.
The big sigh that came with that, like, not now I have to do this.
Yeah. But sometimes the characters, and I know lots of authors say this, but it's really true, sometimes the characters don't fit into the plot that you've decided ahead of time, or some other characters will appear and suddenly they want to take the story in a different direction, and I very often give into that and it ends up differently to how I imagined. But it always feels like an absolute miracle getting to the end of writing a story. It's miraculous. So every time I do it, I'm like, how did that happen?
I am so clever. Look what I did.
It's not clever, it's just amazement. I can't remember doing it. How did I manage to do that? It's amazing.
What did I say to you before we got live?
Oh, yes.
Be
I am
nicer to yourself. You're clever and you did a clever, good thing.
Thank you.
Okay, so our last winner, our last copy that's flying out the door, out away from my dragon's hoard, is from Emma. And she says, what draws you to a particular time period to write about? Is the Elizabethan period a favourite of yours to read, write, and learn about?
What draws me to it? Usually I find out some strange random fact.
That seems on brand for you.
Licking the wallpaper kind of fact. That will take me into some kind of tunnel where I'll disappear for a while. I'm really interested in history anyway, just the oddness of history. And the fact that, did you know that like historical people were real people? I can't get my head around it.
You mean these aren't all just fiction books that I've been reading my whole life? They actually did these things?
People lived like this. I just can't get my head around it. So I think for me, it's like, it's not so much the particular time period. It's a random fact, and then wanting to give voices to people who lived in those times and try and bring their life to life. Oh, I'm doing well with my words. You know what I mean, though, to give them like a real tangible life. And Elizabethan, sorry, go on.
No, I was saying I love that. Carry on. I'm just sitting over here going like, keep talking.
And my favourite to read and write and learn about.
That's mean as well. Like that's there's a big scope there.
At the moment, it is. I get very involved in what I'm writing. But I love Victorian, and the one I'm thinking of at the moment is just after the Second World War, actually, a few years after that. So it's sometimes a story will really fit with a specific time period in my head immediately.
I'm trying very hard not to be like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me.
You can have this one page so far. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you're getting. You asked for it, so here it is.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm interested in everything, aren't you? I just want to know everything about everything. And the more I learn about stuff, the more I realize I know absolutely nothing about anything. Yeah.
But see, then the more it puts into perspective anything that we ever have felt bad about, because we're like, do you know what? I'm just this tiny little speck in all of these other things. Doesn't matter what I do. Which means that you can write 42 endings to your books if you want to. Nobody can stop you.
That's so true. I never thought of that.
Nobody can stop you. I'm going to get a really harsh letter from your editor after this. This is not what we had. This is not what we had in mind for this.
Let me just wave the book around again so they'll be happy.
Yeah, like, look, I did this thing. I did the thing. It's here. So we've answered some of this one from Lily. What's your writing process like? Do you plan everything? But where do you write?
Oh, so this is my very messy writing room, and it looks very, very tidy because you can only see from like here.
Yeah, we've curated our little screen.
Yeah, I've got Jessica Fletcher on my head if I move my head that way. Look,
I love
that. So I'm supposed to write in here. That was the plan. And sometimes I do. If it's very stormy, I like to write up here because you can hear the rain. You can see how close the ceiling is to my head. I love that kind of storminess. And if you open the window, you can hear the sea, and that's just lovely. It's really atmospheric. But mostly I write randomly, like just in the kitchen, in the living room, on the beach, in the woods, while I'm swimming. A lot of it is done in my head before I ever get to put anything down on paper or on my laptop, on my phone. I always say to people, take a notebook everywhere with you, and I never do, or I take a notebook and no pen. All over the place, on receipts, on
what you're telling me is that your husband has to occasionally go behind you and be like, is this relevant, or can I put it in the bin?
Oh no, he wouldn't dare.
Well, how dare you? He's probably sitting watching this like, I would never do that.
He's scared that you even mentioned it.
I'm so sorry. I take it back. I
used to do that thing, Leanne, of where I'd be like, if I had a good idea in the night, I think, oh, if it's that good, I'll remember it tomorrow. I don't do that anymore. I write it down.
Yeah. Also, I think that only applies to people up to the age of like 16, and after that, when you've got real life in your head, on top of everything else, it's like, no, I'm trying desperately to remember that I need basmati rice. I don't have any room for the piece of story.
Absolutely.
Well, we are almost out of time, which I know everybody is really sad about, because I'm sad about too. I could sit here and talk all day. But we do have to wrap things up. So thank you so very much for coming and talking to us today. It has been an absolute blast, and I've loved being able to beg you in person for more books about honesty and Alice. But if any of you guys did not win the giveaway, remember that this one is out right now, and it's just as shiny as this. It's in all of your favorite bookshops, and I really honestly do think it's a perfect Christmas book. I will be rereading it at Christmas. It will be counting on my Goodreads twice this year, and I ain't sorry about it. And it's been amazing having you here, so thank you so much, and thank you so much for writing amazing books.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Oh, and and next time there's another book, we shall do this again.
Yes, please. I'd love to.
You are so welcome. So we shall say goodbye, guys, and have a good evening wherever you are. And now that we've made ourselves hungry, we're going to go and eat our tea now as well. So bye, guys.